Lecture 11, Islam in the West. So currently there are about 3.3 million Muslims in the U.S., making them a little over 1%, and 44 million in Europe. So that's quite a population. So the lecture skips about quite a bit, but a couple of the high points for me that I was not previously aware of. One involving the Nation of Islam, the African American sort of splinter groups from the 30s on that whose members converted to Islam. Formed in Detroit in 1930. They are a splinter of Islam in name, really only. They believe in Allah, and that seems to be the bulk of the similarity. I mean, if you read their belief system, which is you can Google this to your heart's content. I'm not going to go into it in vast detail, but essentially they believe in Allah, but they advocate for a separate black Muslim nation. They're separatists. They I don't want to go into too much because there's so much richness in this, but essentially they've sort of aligned themselves most recently with Scientology, so that should give you some indication of sort of the level they're operating on. So back in the 60s, there was a movement to sort of more properly align the group with Islam as a faith. That happened under Malcolm X, who himself converted to Sunni Islam and was a charismatic leader in the group. Unfortunately, his assassination at the hands of NOI members that did not share his beliefs sort of put the damper on that, to put it lightly. And now the group has aligned itself more with its traditional, not really Muslim beliefs. So the relationship between these two is, as I say, it's a name only, really. So the problems for Western Muslims are fairly self-evident. The first is the fact that nobody understands what they really believe, and instead decides to judge them almost completely based on what they see in the news. Before about 20 years ago, no one really knew what the Muslim faith represented. They were just an invisible subclass. Now, Islam has been sort of forced into the forefront of our knowledge, but unfortunately in the context of violence, and so somewhat judging. So the West has decided to judge everybody based on these extremes instead of properly understanding what this actually represents. So that's really the primary issue for Muslims in the West. It's just the sheer bigotry of Christians and non-Muslims. France, in fact, has gone as far as to outlaw the hijab completely, which has had the effect of no one is really getting arrested for it. But if you read some of the news reports online, it's just ramped up the bigotry. Now the bigots think that they have a box to stand on, that this is illegal, and so they're going to beat the crap out of some poor Muslim woman for wearing her burqa. So it's actually had exactly the wrong effect. France justifies this with the idea that this public display of religion is against France's secular values, whatever that means. But amusingly, it's only Muslim practice that's impacted. So you can still wear your cross and your yarmulke, but you can't wear your burqa. So the problems for Western Muslims are also more practical. Muslims have to eat halal, just like the Jews have to, just like Jewish people have to eat kosher. The Muslims have to eat halal, which isn't always available in every school system. holding a job is potentially an issue because you have to be observant. You have to have facial hair. You have to pray at all the prescribed times. You have to go to Friday mosque, and so that can be problematic for just holding a typical 9 to 5 office job. As I said before, the biggest issue though is just simple bigotry, that people are misinformed and think everybody's a terrorist. And unfortunately, a lot of this has caused Muslims to take their kids out of the school systems and do homeschooling or form their own Islamic schools. So it is an unfortunate circumstance that because we have, as a nation, done a poor job of welcoming newcomers, that they're forced to isolate themselves, which causes us to understand them even less. So it is unfortunate, to say the least. So that's the sum up of lecture 11, more or less. I probably skipped over a lot of the intermediate detail and just focused on the few things that were of primary interest, but there you have it. So at any rate, until next time.